Do you remember what was happening in the world about 5 years ago, last month? Oh, sorry, 6 years ago. No wonder you couldn't remember. 6 years ago, February of 2011. Do you remember the images that were all over the news about the Egyptian revolution? And the hundreds of thousands of people that swarmed Tahrir Square in Cairo. A picture of all the people there. One of the most striking images that came out of that revolution, when President Mubarak agreed to step down as president, as dictator, and entered the country into a new political realm. One of the images that came out of there was that of thousands of people who had been protesting, who had heard that the night before there was a group of common thugs who broke into the Cairo Museum. And they stole some artifacts and they destroyed some artifacts and they left things in a mess. And so these protesters formed a human ring around the Cairo Museum to protect it from further looting. Why? Why did they do this? It's doubtful that on that particular day, 6 years ago, February, that there were any Amun-Ra worshippers in the crowd, ancient god, nor any other ancient Egyptian god worshippers there that day. Why were they doing this? So that they could protect the museum of Cairo with their very bodies because of what was inside what represented their past. They were not simply rallying around ancient religious relics, artifacts. They were protecting their history. They were protecting the symbols of who they had been and who they are as people of the land of Egypt. Where they had been, what they had done, and where they had come from and where they were now in light of all of those artifacts. Every item in that museum had its own special historical significance, a special place in the story of their lives, of their world. Any of you here ever watched the Antiques Roadshow? Emmy and I have a plate at home in our thing, in the dining room. Buffet, thank you. In the technical term, thing. And it's from Queen Victoria. So I took pictures of it and sent it into the Antiques Roadshow to get an idea of, maybe this will pay for my kids' education or not. Well, they sent back a report and said, thank you very much for your submission. We have seen thousands of these plates, and so its value is about $1.67. Needless to say, it didn't quite pay for our kids' education. But if you've ever watched just even one episode of the Antiques Roadshow, you know there's always an item on there that may be significant because of its age or because of what great shape it's in, but then there's something even more about it. A gold ring is worth its weight in gold. And they give you the fair market value basically of that ring until they tell you that, my great-great-grandmother was given this ring by Claude Monet in gratitude for her keeping his studio so clean that he painted. And instantly the ring is worth a whole lot more because of the history behind it. What's your history? What's your story? What's your special historical origin that gives a bit more richness of meaning to who you are as a beloved child of God? What's your faith special historical origin that you need to celebrate and share and remember? What experiences have you had and whom have you encountered that makes your faith life, your faith journey as a human being, priceless? Who here actually thinks of your own life as being priceless? One. I knew St. Terry would. 2, 3, 4. Wow. Hopefully, in the process of our journey through this life in faith in Jesus Christ together, more and more you'll see and understand and believe how priceless every life is. Yours and mine. This week's gospel text from Matthew, his version of the pivotal transfiguration story of Jesus, marks the beginning of a new phase in Jesus' ministry and his mission in this life. It's all about his movement towards Jerusalem, his movement towards Golgotha, his cross that awaited him there, his death. And taking with him his select group of a few disciples, Peter, James, and John, Jesus heads for the mountaintop, where something totally new occurs. The new experience gave those 3 disciples who were present with him that day a vitally new, unique, and special historical beginning for their faith in Jesus the Christ that they carried with them for the rest of their lives. Every word and image evokes the history of Israel, of God's people, and reveals the power of God's covenant with his people. Like the greatest prophets of the past, Jesus journeyed upward first, up the mountain. And as the disciples watched in amazement, Jesus' face and his clothing took on all the classic understandings of a heavenly being. His face radiates and shines as light. His clothing is bright white as well. And then suddenly Jesus and the disciples are no longer alone. There's Jesus standing, having a conversation with 2 great ones from our Old Testament, Moses and Elijah. Moses, the one who led Israel out of Egypt, who climbed Mount Sinai and brought the law of God to the people of God. Now Moses is standing on the land that he was prohibited from entering into before he died. Also standing before the disciples with Jesus is Elijah, Israel's most powerful prophet, the one who was mysteriously transported from earth to heaven, escaping what we all have to experience, death. The one who was described as the one who would return before the coming of the Messiah. And as if the presence of Moses and Elijah there before them wasn't enough, an all-encompassing bright cloud of God's glory, in Hebrew called the Shekinah, settled down on this mountaintop meeting place. The same shining glory of God's presence that was upon the mountain when Moses was given the 10 Commandments from God. When Moses descended from the mountain, Mount Sinai, and his face glowed because he'd been in the holy presence of God. Even as Peter, James, and John found themselves being overshadowed by this glory of God, they heard nothing less than the voice of God speaking to them. This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. It's the same voice and almost identically the same words that were spoken by God the Father at the baptism of Jesus. But now, this time, God adds a new commandment. Task number 1. How many commandments in the Old Testament?
613.
613. How many new commandments in the New Testament? The significant ones that Jesus gave us? 2. Which are? Love the Lord your God with your whole being, heart, mind, soul, and strength. And the second one's just like it. Love your neighbor like yourself. Well, here we've got a third one. This one comes right from God, the Father. What's the commandment here? Listen. Listen to him. How many times did I hear my mother say that?
Still.
Still. How many times have we found ourselves saying that to somebody? Why can't you listen to me? Listen to me. Please. Your mother never says that to you, does she? No. I didn't think Jesus. Listen to him. Jesus, God says. Moses represented the law of Israel's faith. Elijah represented all the prophets of the Lord, each one of whom tried to call God's people, the Hebrew peoples, back into good relationship with God, into faithfulness to the Lord. The prophets always and only spoke the words that the Lord gave them to say. And now, the Savior, to whom the law, Moses, and the prophets, represented here by Elijah, to whom the law and the prophets pointed towards the Savior who was to come, now he's there in the flesh. And they could listen to God personally. No longer just through the words of the commandments. No longer just through the words of the prophets. Now they could listen personally to Jesus face to face. The pricelessness of that pronouncement is so great that its magnitude drove the disciples to their knees in fear and awe before the power of Almighty God. But before God's presence and glory overshadowed the mountain and overwhelmed the disciples, Peter responds and says, Lord, guess what? It's pretty cool that I'm here, that we're here. Let's build 3 shelters for you guys. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Since Jesus and the 2 greatest ancient Israeli prophets were powwowing there on the mountaintop, Peter makes a lovely suggestion, a quaint suggestion, of making them a shelter. 3, in fact. Perhaps it's a little bit more than a cute or quaint suggestion to do something. It's an event steeped in symbols and studied with the most important people in Israel's history. And keeping memories alive has been one of the ancient Israelis' greatest passions and abilities, so that they never forget what has happened in their lives, and they never forget who God is. If this is to be a new milestone along the way of their life of faith, then it needed to be marked. It needed to be recognized and celebrated in some way. So Peter suggests, let's build 3 shelters for you. In ancient Israel's history, when the Ark of the Covenant was finally about to cross over the Jordan River, and the people of Israel were finally going to be led into the Promised Land after 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, Joshua commanded the priests who were carrying the Ark of the Covenant to stop in the middle of the Jordan River. And when they did, the waters backed up on either side of them so that the Hebrew people could cross over the river, this time again, on dry ground. Reminiscent of 40 years earlier, when the previous generation crossed the Red Sea on dry ground when they exited slavery in Egypt and started the journey towards the Promised Land. God also commanded Joshua to have a representative of each of the 12 tribes of Israel go out in the middle of the stream, the Jordan River, and pick up a plain rock and carry it to the other side. And the reason for this rock gathering was so that it would be for a perpetual memorial, a reminder, a sticky note, a post-it note of magnitude for the Hebrew people, so that they wouldn't forget, so that they would remember what God had promised he was now fulfilling, leading his people into the Promised Land. Once they crossed to the other side of the river and entered the Promised Land, Joshua oversaw the erection of all 12 of these stones at a place called Gilgal, making a permanent marker to commemorate the miracle, serving as a perpetual reminder for the people of Israel. Have you ever walked through a field, a farmer's field, or a garden, even somewhere where there's been a cairn, C-A-I-R-N, a pile of rocks to mark something special, something about the site itself, the particular beauty of the site, or part of the pathway that this is on? It's a significant feature. Any of you have a rock cairn in your garden? You can pay significant money to have a rock cairn built, or a rock cairn lantern for your garden as well. Or you could just go and find 5 flat stones and pile them up on your table outside and be done with it for the day. And it's all good. But these cairn piles of rocks are a particularly Celtic tradition from ancient Ireland. But such rock stacking behavior has actually been with human beings for a long time. Ever since we first began to yearn to remember, that we want to remember something important, an important place, an important moment in our lives. And Gilgal reminded the people of Israel of that pivotal moment when they finally entered into the Promised Land. Biblical scholars often associate Peter's offer here on the Mount of Transfiguration to build 3 shelters for Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. They associated it with the Feast of Tabernacles. It was the annual Jewish festival during which small temporary shelters were built, little tents were set up, in which the people stayed for a while they celebrated this feast to the Lord, to remind them of what it was like for their ancestors to live in the wilderness for 40 years as they wandered through the desert on the way to the Promised Land. So if building tabernacles and not anything to do with Gilgal rock formations was what Peter had in mind, this too would have been a powerful symbol to remember this place of importance, the transfiguration of Jesus. But the person of Jesus, the moment of his transfiguration is far too significant, too important, too unique, actually too unprecedented to be commemorated in such a way. Both the monuments at Gilgal and the Feast of Tabernacles celebrated the journey and the arrival of God's people in specific time and place in their history. But the moment Peter wants to domesticate Jesus by building tabernacles, the glory and voice of God comes down to reveal the greater purpose, the greater revelation. God's command is not to commemorate a particular place. Instead, it's to connect with a particular person. This is my son, my beloved son, he said, in whom I am well pleased. Listen to him. God's command is to respond to this person, his beloved son. Not to make a rock pile. Not to set up a tent temporarily to remember and commemorate this momentous occasion, but instead to personally connect with Jesus, his beloved Son. Jesus, the new Ark of the Covenant in the flesh before God's people. You ever heard of Larry Crabb? Christian author, writes books on relationships. One of the most difficult things I've ever read from Larry Crabb is when he said, quote, "Our passion for Jesus is the only passion that will not destroy us." End quote. The greatest moment in your life and mine comes when we say from the innermost depths of our hearts, our being, Jesus. With doubting Thomas we say, "My Lord and my God. You are the Christ, the Messiah, the Savior of the world, Son of the living God. I will listen to you every day in everything that I do." When we can say that and mean it, we've discovered what Jesus described elsewhere. We've discovered the pearl of great price, the treasure hidden in a field. So I guess part of the question is, will you fall in love with Jesus and stay in love with Jesus and die in love with Jesus? Jesus' love for us, so unconditional, so perfect, so passionate, so pure, is what brings our lives their greatest meaning. Is a love that fulfills us completely. His love guides our lives in the here and now and into eternity. And God the Father said, what was the commandment? Listen to him, to Jesus. Why? Because he speaks God's truth. Listen to him to know the truth. Listen to him to obey his truth. Listen to him to dispel our doubts and to get rid of our fears and to find everything that we need. Listen to Jesus to calm the tumult of our souls. Listen to him, all of you who are laboring hard and are heavily burdened. Listen to him. Jesus says to all of us, I am with you always, even to the very end of the age. Listen to him, every one of you who hungers and thirsts after righteousness, for you will be filled in him. Listen to him. Do you know what the big difference between hearing and listening is? No? Hearing, I can hear things, but not really recognize them. Not let them register deeply in me. But listening implies doing. Listening implies a response to what we're hearing. Listening. Listen to Jesus. As we look to Jesus every day, not just Sunday morning for an hour or an hour and a half, as we listen to Jesus every day, people will notice that our faces, like Moses, when he came down from the mountain with the law of God, and the people complained to him, please cover your face, put a veil over your face, it's too bright, we can't bear to look at you because you've been in the holy presence of God. Our faces today can shine like Moses, can shine like Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. People will notice not just your face, but hopefully they'll notice your whole life, every day, shining for Jesus. If we but listen to Jesus.